So in this video, I'd like to show you how to add Google Base Maps as layers to your project. So it's kind of a two-step. The first is to show you how to kind of call a Google Base Map as a tile service, and then the next step is going to be kind of how to add it to your map as a layer. So what you should look for is in your browser, you want to look for XYZ tiles. And you'll see that you have a couple of options there. You probably have OpenStreetMap, and if you bring that in, you'll get a view of the world on a Mercator, because look how big Antarctica is. And you'll notice that this thing over here probably went to EPSG 3857. And the idea there is that that is the coordinate system for the um, OpenStreetMap. I believe it's the Web Mercator. So if I just brought up a Google here and typed in EPSG, was that 3857? Am I remembering that correctly? Um, yes. And then if I hit return on that, it's going to give me the WGS84 pseudo Mercator. So EPSG.io um, is basically definitions of coordinate systems. It's a reference for these indexed coordinate system definitions. And so we've talked about the WGS84 pseudo Mercator. We've looked at it. It's what the code editor uses. Its code or its calling card is EPSG 3857. And again, we'll talk more about coordinate systems in lecture next week. But that's the idea, that the first layer that you add to the project winds up defining the coordinate reference system that the project is going to use. You can change that later, but that's just something to keep in mind. So now what I'd like to show you how to do is how to add some services to this tiles so that you can look at some of the kind of Google base maps that we've been using in the code editor. So to do that, I'm going to right click here and say, so I just right clicked on the XYZ tiles. I'm going to say new connection, please. And it's going to bring up this one. And let's just start by typing in a name. And I'm going to say this is the Google satellite. And then we need to stick a URL in here. And so if you go to the little helper snippets that I have underneath this video on the primer page, you should be able to copy the address, the HTTPS address for the Google satellite and paste it in there. And with the one caveat, note that there's kind of an extra space at the end. And so if you paste and then delete once, just so the cursor is right there at the Z, this should work. And then you can leave everything else blank and say OK. And then you should have a Google satellite view here. So then if I drag and drop that on, you should now have the Google satellite base layer delivered to your map. It's running a little slow here. That's meaning that it's trying. I'm gonna take that off. And I'm a little surprised it's running this slow, but here it comes in. Oops, I guess make it mad. So a couple things here to navigate. If you right click on this, you can say zoom to layers, and that's always going to zoom you out. And here's kind of some of the navigation tools. So once again, we've got MJ to pan. We've got a magnifying glass to zoom in. We've got um, a -1 to zoom out. That goes to full extent. You can play with this if you want. You can also notice that the scale down here is going to change as we zoom in. You are kind of should be increasing the scale, so the fraction should get bigger. But that is your representative fraction. So that's telling you one. Let me just zoom out here. So that's telling you that 1 inch on this map is equal to that many inches on the Earth. You have a magnifier, which is for me a little annoying. You could rotate this thing if you want to, and then the idea is that's the coordinate reference system ID there. And then the coordinate is just telling you where you are. So this is kind of equivalent to some of the things you get with Inspector, but that's the idea. So again, for now, I'm gonna remove the OpenStreetMap and get that out of there. And it's gonna often be a little cautious, but I'm just gonna say, yep, I'm pretty sure about that one. And let's go ahead and add another one. So if that's the satellite view, if I say new connection, and I'm gonna say this is the Google Hybrid that I want to add. I'm sorry, I'm foggy, but I think that's how you spell it. And then I'm going to go down to the helper code, get the hybrid, paste it in, delete to get rid of that space at the end, say OK, and now throw hybrid on, and should, if I zoom in to North America, you should see that if that's the hybrid, that's the satellite. So then you see in the layers here that it's a kind of the topmost layer is being drawn on top of the bottom layer, right? So if I turn on and off satellite, you don't see a difference, but if I turn on and off hybrid, you do see a difference. And then I'll just let you decide if you want to add all of the options here. But if we're going to go ahead and add a new connection for Google Terrain, it would give us something like this. Okay. And then if I added the terrain, we should get that. So now if we zoom in, we should get the kind of shaded relief as part of the base map. And then we can also get the roadmap or a de-emphasized roadmap. The de-emphasized roadmap is going to be, um, I mean, I'm happy to kind of go through these, but also allow you to do this on your own. The map is basically the classic Google map with colored road lines, and the de-emphasized roadmap is more like the roads that you're seeing here. So I think the main difference is that the roadmap kind of picks up this kind of symbology for roads, but without the satellite image. And the de-emphasized roadmap picks up kind of more of this symbology for the roads, just without the terrain. So I'll let you add those if you should like them. But for the most part, I just want to make sure that you have access to at least these three as we're moving along in this course. So I'm going to say save, and now if I should close QGIS and then bring it back on, and I'm going to wait for it here. Hopefully it won't take too long, but there it is. And if I say go ahead and open QGIS, which I can do in the recent projects there, I can also go to project, open recent, hello QGIS. It should open up, and it should remember that I have these hybrids. I wonder why it keeps on kind of remembering things I've done in the past, which is a little annoying. But anyway, hopefully you'll still have your terrain, hybrid, and satellite as XYZ tiles. Um, and cool, that's all I wanted to show you.